Hey everyone! Bright and early, got my coffee. So this is RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 13, Episode 6, Disco-mentary. I love these kind of themed episodes. I think they're a lot of fun. This was a good, solid episode. It's so sad to see anyone go at this point. I'll say right up front, I don't fully agree with the judging. I was kind of right off the top as far as judging goes. I was kind of thrown off, and then I spent the rest of the episode kind of like, what's going on? So we'll get to that. So right up, I do have to say that if you haven't caught it, Olivia seems to be kind of a little bit of a like smiley face pot stirrer. So what's going on? I don't know. Anyway, didn't enjoy Tina Turner making all the faces as they rehash the stuff, but we talked about it last week. I'm not going to go through it again. You have your opinion on it. They come out to the mini challenge. No one knows who Charles Nelson Riley is. That's not a name. I'm going to be really clear. This is not a name from my time period, but I feel like they should know it because Ben de la Creme won an all-star snatch game playing Charles Nelson Riley. So I kind of feel like, where is your all-star knowledge? Like, where is your RuPaul's Drag Race knowledge? You should know from that reference. And so people are like, oh, these super dated references. It would be a super dated reference if RuPaul brought it up out of nowhere, which RuPaul does do. But I was like, Ben de la Creme? Come on. That was that was one of the best, remember, cocktail weenie. Remember that? Charles Nelson Riley. Anyway. They all have to break into pairs to do a sponsored challenge where they provide wallpaper and they make outfits. So everybody pairs up. We have Tina, Candy, got Mick, which is our mean girl clique, and it is such a bad idea. Such a bad idea. Now people are like, oh, it's always doomed. The original clique was the Heathers. If you remember, gosh, it had to be season 2. It was with Raja, Manila, and Delta Work, and they were the Heathers versus the Boogers, and they were against Shangela. So that must have been season 3, because Shangela went out first in season 2, right? Sorry, I haven't rewatched the early seasons enough recently. But anyway, they were the Heathers. Raja did win, so it worked for her. But what most people think of is Rulaska Talks in, I don't even know, I'm not going to guess what season that was. Season blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and it did not work out well for them against little, oh my gosh, Seattle Queen, Jinx Monsoon. And it did work out, and it really turned the viewers kind of off because it was this, you know, here's silly little Jinx just trying to do her thing, and then the 3 mean girls. So it does not work well. Then it happened again in All-Stars. And Alaska was like, I cannot do this Rulaska Talks, which was Detox, Roxy Andrews, and Alaska. We can't do it again. It snowed me last time. And so this is another thing where I'm like, you guys, you've got to remember you got to study your RuPaul's Drag Race history, because you do not want to, you don't want other people coining you as a name, and you definitely don't want to even ironically claim it as yourself. They decide they're the mean girls. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got They're going to do open pairs. We end up with Simone and Lala, Utica and Olivia, Denali and Rosé, Tina and Candy, and then Tamisha and Elliott just kind of end up together. That's just how it was. So, and then Gottmik, because it was a winner last time, got to pick who. And of course went with Tina and Candy. And it's like, oh. So they're going to do the different stages of disco. I like these. I like these kind of things. It was weird to me that they didn't know anything about disco. And you go, well, they're all so young. And so I kind of did some math. And when I was growing up, I knew 50s music, and I knew 60s music, and I knew 70s music, and those were decades before me. So I kind of feel like, especially as drag performers who I assume know a lot of iconic songs that are part of their cultural history as part of. So anyway, so I was kind of surprised. It was just weird to me that not 1 or 2 of them didn't know, but like so many of them didn't know any disco. So that was a little surprising to me. But it wasn't a big deal. Anyway, they all did these little things. Tamisha and Elliott won, and it was adorable. It was super cute. Lala had, once again, it was a terrible outfit. I was like, they do not need to be designing their own outfits. Anyway, so we'll just keep going. We get to hear a lot about Tamisha has an ostomy bag, so that can be a real big physical hindrance. It was so neat to hear because you had no idea. And so it's really inspirational to people who have an ostomy bag and who feel embarrassed by it. It's a health, medical health device. It's not something that that we should be, but it's kind of like hide it. I have a friend, very good friend, with very advanced Crohn's disease, and that's something that's on the table for her if she can't get under control with medicine, and they really don't have an idea how to help her. And it's something I've talked to her about, and she's like, you know, would you be comfortable rooming with me? And I'm like, of course. I don't know a lot about it, but I'd figure it out. I'd learn because you're my friend, and I want you to be able to do all the things that you want to do. And if you need a medical device to do that, and it improves the quality of your life, then go for it. So that was incredible. I'm so glad that it came out and it wasn't like on Twitter afterwards, and afterwards they were like, oh, by the way. It's so incredibly powerful. It's going to be really inspirational to people who feel, who hopefully watch that and go, oh, I can be a performer. I can do amazing things and all that. So it never came up. She never discussed it with the other girls. I kind of wish there had been the opportunity for that, but it wasn't, and that was her choice, and I do respect that. But anyway, we get into the different numbers. This is what I wrote down. I wrote Mean Girls. I thought they were awful. I in general just sit back and enjoy the show. And it doesn't ruin when like somebody's off by a step, but this time I tried to really watch. And it seemed to me that a lot of times Gottmik was going the wrong direction. They weren't cohesive. It felt like a lot of like pacing from step to step and then dancing offbeat a little. So I just wrote awful, and then I wrote okay for Ellie. Everyone else was okay until I got to Nolly and Rose, and I said good. They seemed to be the only ones that were really dancing. They were smiling. They were performing every second all the way through. But I didn't feel strongly where like nobody was terrible. So when they called up Gottmik, Denali, Rose, Lala, and Simone, I was like, I personally would have just put everyone safe except for Candy, Tina, and Gottmik in the bottom. I would have put Denali and Rose in the top. I'm not a professional dancer. I mean, like everyone else, I danced a little when I was younger. But, you know, I'm no expert on that. And I was a little confused because this is a big issue with the international ones where the judging is really consistent, like inconsistent. But I still find that even this season, I'm a little confused. Is like, are we going off of the challenge or are we going off of the runway? Or are they equal? Because remember when Brooklyn Heights bombed Snatch Game as Celine Dion, and then like did that amazing runway where she spun and did a wig change in the same moment. Didn't save her from being bottom two. But this season, it seems, at least this episode, it seemed like it didn't, like they kept going on about how great Tina Burner's outfit was. And it's like, okay, but it was a performance challenge, right? Like, so I'm glad that her outfit looked cool, even if it was red, orange, and yellow. Like, so I found that kind of confusing, and a lot of people things that was also and other people pointed this out on Twitter was they did call Candy out on being kind of this one note attitude that was, and then they called out Utica as being kind of a one note camp. But they haven't said anything to Tina Burner about her only using those colors to the detriment of each challenge. So it was a little confusing because but it's clear that Tina Burner's not a favorite, but it was a little confusing to me. I was really confused kind of with her being in the top, but I don't mean this in a nasty way. I didn't think she was the worst I've ever seen or anything. I just was a little like, oh, did I miss the judging criteria? Was it about the outfit? Because they also read Candy down for her outfit being really not, you know, being simple, which is okay, but then it was a little bit like, I was trying to think of other previous challenges where performance dance challenge, like when the All-Stars, the season with Ben de la Creme and Katya, so I think that must have been season 2, when they did like Women Throughout History, I don't remember them mentioning the outfits at all, only, well no, I guess they did read Katya for her Princess Diana dress, but it's just, it was, so anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I was a little confused. I'm not going to you know, anything. But I will say that I don't watch a ton of recaps and stuff. I do watch the one that Trixie's doing, and the last cap, extra lap recap, which normally someone, one of the, I think it's a PA or a production, someone who works on the show normally does, but Jujubee's been doing it the last 2 episodes. And last week when Jujubee covered the episode and Candy and Tamisha fought, she goes, oh, they're going to make them lip sync. So this whole episode, I was thinking about that, and I was like, are they just going to make Candy and Tamisha lip sync? Because once again, I thought Tamisha did fine. I thought she did better than Got Mick. So I was a little confused why Tamisha ended up in the bottom. And then they really didn't like, they didn't understand Utica's look, but I thought it was a really strong, like, even if I didn't know what it was referencing, it was a really strong look. And so I felt like it was kind of a little weird. I do have to say the way she held her mouth the whole performance was a bit much, but I feel like this is, I kind of said it last week, there's this typical thing about like funny and feminine shouldn't go together, but guys can, and nobody tells, you know, I guess people do say that to Jim Carrey, but Jim Carrey can do a whole movie with these wacky faces, but a woman doesn't, and it's not very appealing. And so I have a lot of opinions on that. My own personal biases, because I'm a woman in comedy, and anyway. So my point being, I might have some pent-up issues around this, but I just found it wasn't where I'm crazy about Tamisha, but it wasn't that someone who had been objectively performing really well in the competition thus far went home, but I didn't think it was her week. So anyway, so we ended up with Tina Burner, Elliott, and Olivia in the top, which is still confusing. It's not that I thought Elliott and Olivia did badly. I just don't understand why Rose and Denali weren't there. It was a dance challenge, and I thought they did great. So I'm a little confused. And then none of the runways were that exciting to me, but the category was so tough. Little Black Dress was so, because a lot of those dresses weren't little black dresses, and no one would describe them that way. But then the ones that were little black dresses tended to be boring. I personally didn't go nuts for Got Mick's outfit. I get it. It's witty. It's funny. But to me, it didn't, if someone showed that to me, I wouldn't think, oh, that's a drag look. Does that make sense? And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback because it's so creative. So I wouldn't have put it in the bottom because of a technicality, but I wasn't as blown away by, remember the whole don't rely on that body? That's kind of what her outfits are starting to feel like. They sort of feel like, okay, what's the minimum amount I can get away to meet this challenge, to show off my body? And that's great confidence, and that's not I'm not trying to critique her feelings about, the queen's feelings about their body and drag. But from a drag standpoint, it's kind of feeling like, okay, well, the makeup's amazing here, and then the clothes go away. So anyway, that's just my personal bias. I wouldn't want to send that kind of outfit home because it's so interesting unless everyone else was so much more spectacular. I'll just say I wasn't as over the moon with it as a lot of people are. But I get it, a lot of people were. And then the bottom was Candy, which I thought was fine. Tamisha, which I thought was okay. And Utica, which I guess I thought it was okay, but I was just confused because I would have put Got Mick, Candy, and Tina, and then I put Candy and Tina. So I was way off. But it seemed to me that they were talking about how much they loved Tina Burner's dress, and so I was like, okay, well, it's just a dress in a performance challenge. Okay. So anyway, then Candy and Tamisha lip synced. I thought Candy would go home, but I didn't feel that it was such a standout that I was like, no! I just was kind of like, okay, but Tamisha went home, and that was really sad, and I'm excited to see more from her in the future. It's getting to that point in the episode, they kind of said it in Untucked. It was nice. I mean, I was really, really warmed by Tamisha stopping and hugging Candy and wishing her the best. It just is such a maturity, and we don't always see that. And I know not everybody likes that. Some people are like, whatever, wish she had flipped her off at the end of the runway. But I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing, a portrayal of high energy people. And like Tina was this whole thing like, oh, well, we're drag queens. It's like, okay, you can be high energy and loud and all that and still be, I don't know, pleasant to be around. I mean, like, so one of the reasons why Bianca Del Rio does so well, and is well liked and one of the most followed queens and all that, is that she is all that spicy and stuff, but she's also nice. So she, like, the whole thing, I think when people think of Bianca Del Rio, one of the things that stand out was her turning to Adore Delano, being like, I know I'm a bitch and all that, but do you want a censure? Like, I have one, you can use it. Kind of that. I was glad, I do feel bad for Candy. Candy, I can't apologize for Candy's behavior last week, but people were like messaging her mom and wishing her to die, and it's like, that's wildly inappropriate. There's a difference between saying, I didn't like your behavior on the show, and personally messaging her death threats. Like, I don't know why we can't find this middle ground, but I was glad that Candy had the opportunity to say publicly to Tamisha and make up, because hopefully that'll get people off of that a little bit. Like, you still don't have to like Candy. She's not my favorite of the competitors, but there's a difference between I wouldn't pick her for my dream team, or I don't see her winning the crown, and like, I want her to suffer emotional long-term damage. So anyway, we got to hear more about her. Her and Tamisha got to make up. Tamisha got to really shine and say, hey, I hashed it out like adults. We're good. We're moving forward. And it's like, thank you for having that conversation in a way that people can see, because it needs to be said. So anyway, that is the end of the episode. I don't have super strong feelings about this episode. I'm not in love with as much with Gottmik as everybody else is, but I get why others are. I'm just not enthralled by it. Utica is someone who's going up for me. Denali and Rose, I'm just, they're like the Jan of the season, where it feels like, why aren't they getting more recognition? I will say, so Simone and Lala this episode were kind of scooted through, but I have to say, I have never seen someone's skin glow like Simone's does. Amazing. Great outfit. Yeah, I don't know who's going to go home next. I don't know who my dream top 3 are. There's a lot of things I don't know. I think it's very likely Gottmik will make it to the top 3. I think it's kind of a given that Simone will make it at this point, as long as there's not a whole bunch more challenges. I'd like to see Utica, but but then you go, oh, so you're going to cut Olivia? Oh, well, Olivia's so beautiful. I love her hair. I love her face. Okay, so we'll add Olivia. So we'll make a top 4. Oh, what about Rose? Oh, well, Rose is really fun. Well, what about Denali? Okay, well, that's a little, you know what I mean? So it gets a little hard. So tell me who you're rooting for and who you think will make it into the top, which are different things. Yeah, how did you feel about the episode? Are you a million times more incensed than me? Hit me up in the comments. Are you like, no, this was 1,000% dead on? Okay, great. Hit me up in the comments and tell me.